I still can't believe that fan art made people send death threats. Well, Andrias got to hit Marcy from the back and no one said nothing. Hi, welcome to my sarcastic summary, where I basically lie about the plot for 20 minutes by describing what happened in the worst way possible, while still being technically correct. The best kind of correct. Today I'll be summarizing the most popular isekai Disney's ever made and didn't cancel, Amphibia. The story of 3 mean girls who got dumped into another dimension and learned basic life lessons like not being a picky eater, friendship, and manslaughter, with the season 2 finale revealing that they didn't end up here by accident. Nah, it turns out local gamer girl Marcy was gonna move away to some place that wasn't a small grin shithole, so as one last hurrah, she decided to believe the least moldy book in the library and peer pressured her best friend into shoplifting, only for Marcy to get buyer's delight when it actually worked and sent them to Amphibia, with her master plan being, let's not go home and just hang out with an off-duty mall Santa for a few years. Only in a shocking turn of events that no one could have seen coming, the mall Santa turned out to be a weirdo, stabbing her in the back, but not before she was able to send Anne, the protagonist, back to Earth, while she would get pickled for later use. Anne Boone Choi, along with her adopted frog family, the Planters, are now back in LA. Their reward is quarantine, because fuck them. If we, the audience, had to be miserable, our cartoons gotta deal with it too. Really though, this is all about introducing the new best characters in the show, Anne's parents. The creator's actual mom, and the gamer dad, who would probably be testing their kid for licking frogs if they weren't sitting on the couch right next to them. But they accept them, they accept the insanity, and getting rid of the mystery BS of telling the non-fantasy parents about the crazy so that we can get on with our lives. But just before we start moving too fast, I'd like to remind you that in the last hour, Anne has been betrayed by her best friend, betrayed by the other one, watched the other one get turned into a shish kebab, found out she has superpowers. Instead of dealing with that, we're going to a dollar store. Because Amphibia is gonna Amphibia, which means it's gonna be funny whether you want it to or not. But they head to the market where they get jumped. X gon' give it to you. And Anne figures out she can go Super Saiyan Blue, while her parents think if being trapped in another world taught her responsibility, maybe it was worth the trauma. Follow that nonsense up with showing the frogs the rest of the worst humanity has to offer by taking them to the mall, where the Planters are given a chance to prove that they won't out themselves in 30 seconds. In her defense, this is why you don't put Polly around lesser beings, but everyone has their own struggles. Sprig learns where not to put his mouth, Hop Hop finds out what profiling is,
Touch something!
and the day ends with Anne giving them all a pass because of that glass house she's living in. Next up, this show's Amity gets an episode. If you're wondering, is Sasha one of the most popular characters? Just think about that for a second, and just look at her, and ask yourself, is this fandom basic? You have your answer. Because honestly, people simped for Sasha way before she was ever redeemed. But it's always funny to me when the character that people find the most relatable is the asshole. This episode specifically is about Sasha dropping the bitch face personality, realizing she might have been a control freak, and now is as good a time as any to change her ways, when people are oppressed and not picky. Enjoy this shot. We won't be back here for a while.
Creepy old man just licked everyone on the bus?
There is context for this. Next up on characters people want to hear say mommy, Sprig has decided his dead parent issues are Mrs. Boone Choi's problems now, as he's desperate for her attention, but he's not the only guy begging for her approval, and screwing her restaurant in the process. So Sprig decides to ruin the man's life for brownie points. Look, I don't know what I expected from a museum episode, but this was about it. Planters meet a woman who was way too happy to be making minimum wage with a PhD, must be the benefits,
and an avid lover of all things ancient.
Why'd you wink at me?
breaking later to steal pot, they get jumped.
X gon' give it to
Also, this lady is now their friend. Next up is Anne realizing the importance of being a part of the Thai community, and maybe her parents thinking she was dead for 6 months wasn't the easiest thing in the world. Also, poly supremacy continues.
We can fix you. I just need to educate myself.
This girl learned how to build a robot by watching YouTube. She can literally do anything now. But it brought her iron giant back, so that's worth a roof that they get jumped through.
X gon' give it to you. Fuck, wait for you to get it on your own. X gon' deliver.
Were you surprised by that display of ferocity, Mr. Boone Choi?
No.
Then just when you finally think we're done with the cheap robot plot, a real monster arrives to cause trouble.
So what, D-Cop?
Basic plot, RuPaul is a secret agent committing government-sanctioned war crimes by bringing back Heelys. I thought I was free of this, but they keep bringing them back to haunt me. With the frogs getting their first ear rape at the movie theaters, which is interrupted by the men in black trying to probe them for information and funsies, thankfully the bees are top-tier parents and save the day thanks to blacking out. An adult's one true superpower. Followed up by Anne's character regressing a bit by making Sprig's birthday all about her, but hey, they get high in the air together where they ruin someone else's life.
Hey, have you guys heard the one about the lady who probably just made a really bad decision?
So worth it. Then after that low-tier birthday, Sprig discovers anime, and there is no turning back. Cosplaying in public to start a beef with an old guy, and they make it everyone's problem.
You're definitely under arrest. Fair enough.
Now to talk about an episode you actually remember, we return to Amphibia, where the lesbians decide maybe this isn't a vibe. But since this is a kid's show, only a child can save them, so they break into the lower levels to find a pickled Marcy who will tell them exactly what to do. Except she's PG drunk.
Okie dokie. Lead the way, Lady Olivia. Captain, you.
She's out of it.
Amazing what you can get away with if you don't call it what it is. Now this has all been way too easy and not enough sexual tension, so the eyes on the wall decide to inflict trauma on everyone. Only for the Newt team, I don't know how to say this, but I swear the name's brilliant. As they remember all of this trauma is digital and non-fungible, making it actually worthless, only for the happy ending to get cut short by the coin flip of a man returning, revealing his boss is a Samurai Jack villain, and all the lies and betrayals have just been foreplay for when he actually starts screwing with Marcy's head. Behold, Dark Marcy, or Darcy for short. Yes, that's canon, yes, it's stupid, but you love it. Just like how the Corps loves using Marcy as a sock puppet.
Follow us! We have a very important mission for you.
This thing needs some calibration.
And after that episode gave you depression, the show made the smart call to give you double depression by going back to LA, where Hot Pot meets an old dinosaur you've definitely heard before.
Huh? What are you talking about?
I talk about HP being goofy, but I'm still trapped on Marcy getting body jacked by an Aku reference.
Extra thick!
It's just bizarre no one sees it. At least the planners are learning more about the human world, like constantly learning things that we all know about, which I'm not saying it ruins the fun, but it's kinda not what I signed up for. But on the bright side, at least the planners get Owl House spoilers, and it also brought us Webby from DuckTales, so can you really complain? Yes. Yes, I can. Also, someone got mauled to death by toddlers, and they just never bring it up again. Fuck it, it's Christmas. The worst time of year where people pretend to be nice for presents and you forgot to buy them. Miss B has a dream of being in a parade, but that gets canceled when she decides maybe it's not the time to draw attention to themselves when they have aliens stealing their Netflix accounts at home. But Anne builds a float anyway. Before your average mall Santa hijacks a robot one, proving that yes, the spirit of Christmas is fake and actively hates you.
Daddy, is Santa gonna be okay?
No, Timmy, I don't think so.
Then just because people have been demanding to know about Sasha and Marcy's parents, where they've been, how are they dealing with the loss of their daughters, good enough Anne writes anonymous letters saying they're okay, trust me, and that will be the last we ever heard of them. And if that stings, or feels like a missed opportunity, here's Rebecca Sugar.
Bucket of fried chicken, a costume for your dad.
Sadly, all good no, that's a lie. Get me the fuck out of here. We finally leave this place, and all it takes is them getting captured, getting a body count, and Anne bluing herself a portal. But for real though, these guys are definitely dead.
No, they're fine. They have airbags.
Now, we're finally back in Amphibia, where we can start repairing the relationships between Anne and the allegedly buffer Sasha. The only one who really gained anything, though, is Loggle. Attempts are made to make the human lollipop the leader. She's awful at it. So Sasha is back on top, but Anne consents, so it's cool now. Which in other news, I am currently kicking back, laughing myself to tears as the fandom queerbaits itself again. Sprig and... okay, I'm just gonna call her not Maddie because I do not remember her name. Well, these two are just being obnoxiously cute and ruining everyone else's day because they can't be together all the time, but they are able to pull out and save the mission. No one technically dies, so Pacifica Best gives them a pass.
No! I'm too beautiful to die!
Alright, the war is going badly, the land is devastated, and if you squint, it can almost look like Australia. So it's time for a bunch of Mad Max references. Well, Sasha Ann gets some girl time.
What are we gonna eat now? Holy...
All right, that's been enough shenanigans. Time to move the plot. But first, more shenanigans.
You are the biggest moron I have ever met!
Excuse me?
Rebel Alliance discover the Olms. They save the Olms. The Olms call it fake news. Sasha's projecting correctly. And he gets them to meet the wise old lady who knows everything.
Prophecy is gone. It's gone.
One shenanigan later.
3 stars burning bright come from beyond to expel the light. Should they fight or embrace the fall, their choice will determine the fate of all.
Oh, wow! I already knew that. The internet figured that out months ago. Sprig is trained by an angry toad to kick his sister in the face, solving generations of oppression with violence, and I'll be taking no further questions.
Well, if it isn't Hopadiah Planter.
Okay, I have questions. The Planter family gets abducted by a cult. There's a sentient brain fungi who is controlling all of them, and what nightmare fuel Anne just lets them join the army because robots. Everyone here is possessed, and they all say they love being possessed. Oh, we're really not gonna question that one. Just gonna let them stay like that, take their word for it. Whatever, the next one's a lore episode, so no one's gonna talk about any of this anyway. Finally, Andrias' tell-all story. There's a story, and it is a shit ton of telling. Andrias, back in the day, just had the bestest friends. He had Sprig and a dress leaf, and this other guy, who happened to have a hammer, and Amphibia was at its peak. World-conquering phase, where they would go to primitive worlds and steal its resources because colonialism is that subtle. Leaf Pokemon has a vision, the evil king says shut up, there is no bubble, and then she steals the magic music box that lets them travel across dimensions, betraying a young Keith David who is voiced by Zeno Robinson, that guy who plays Hunter, and many others. But all you really need to know from this is Andrias is Anne, except his family is his bully. Darcy is also here and being chaotic fun. Anne meets a reference, they recruit him when he realizes survival of the fittest is rich people nonsense. Anne also got her cat back, and that's just fucking Beerus. Okay, almost the last episode. Frog, Toad, and Newt armies are all together, just long enough to remember they hate each other.
Take a weapon, leave a body!
Thankfully, Anne learned from the best and accidentally guilts them into doing what she wants, which means that now is the time for the big final battle. Flashback to Anne and Sasha realizing that yes, this great friend group everyone idolizes may have always been a bit dysfunctional, with the other two kind of ignoring Marcy's interests, and that may have contributed to her choosing Isekai over talking it out. But whatever, final battle, it fails. Then after Dance Dance Revolution, the girls find Darcy and lose almost immediately. Okay, they lose immediately, so now it's time for the invasion.
Well, that doesn't seem so bad.
Rough estimate of what's happened. Sasha finds Darcy, where Grimes' disarming appearance finally catches up with him. Anne's parents are now super cops. Perfect. The birds that ate the Sprig's parents are here because, I'll be honest, I have no idea. But the players get to overcome their PTSD to save the bees. They also brainwash the birds. Not gonna question it, just gonna keep moving. Finally, Anne gets to have her one-on-one fight with Andrias. And we finally get a Sweet Life reference. Because trauma forgives everything, the big evil softie reads the letter Leaf left him, so he turns to the good side and lets Anne kill him. Never mind, he's alive. So day is saved, Marcy realizes living her isekai fantasy isn't what she needed and is able to get the helmet off. Everyone finally gets to live happily ever after.
Hey, is it just me, or is the moon getting closer?
Okay, the core. The big overarching threat. Andrias' villain daddy and a bunch of other old guys decide losing is for losers, and they aren't that. So within, I think, a few seconds, they fly to the moon, turn on the engines, and now they're going to Majora this shit. Or Sonic it. Never got into that franchise, it looked too culty. So everyone in Amphibia is fucked. Wait for it. Never mind. Mother of Exposition tells them they have a chance of not dying by turning Marcy and Sasha into Powerpuff Girls. But doing so might lead them straight into here which should be a harder decision if the other two had any connection to the Earth, so they're just game. Also, there's a secret special super mode that lets one person use all 3 gems at the cost of dying, and Mother Troll only tells and this, which is a dick move. But that's only in case they have no other option, which means it has to happen. The Wonder Trio finally gets their magical girl transformations. Sasha is a rock and roll cheerleader and is the protagonist, and Marcy, I don't see a difference. Back on the planet, a still very much alive Andrias is hanging out before getting a call from his dad who gives him a choice: die with everyone on the planet or spend an eternity with his father. Really should have come up with a different sales pitch. Robot Army is here to help. Give Anne just enough time to explain how she's about to take one for the team. Now, I know they said Anne is gonna die from using this power. I think she'll be fine, just a little ashy. But don't worry, Anne's not dead. Well, she is, but she met God.
I made a copy of you right before you expired. A backup, if you will. For all intents and purposes, you're the same Anne Boonchoi.
Well, that's gonna cause some serious existential dread later on.
So this cat god thing is trying to pawn its job off on Anne. She doesn't want it, makes mistakes, still growing, rada rada rada. Then it brings her back to life so they can get her later when she's old and out of options. The reunion is great, everyone is crying except me. I only cry hours later while listening to the OST, but it's over. Marcy tells the gays goodbye, Sasha and Grimes have a moment, Anne and the planters have a competition to see who can get dehydrated the fastest, and the winner was the audience. But it's over, they let go. And because Harry Potter did it, we get a 10-year epilogue for everyone. Our goddess Polly is now full grown, and not gonna lie, the head is too round. This woman needs some lip. But Spring is also here, and is 21, but looks exactly the same. Whatever. I'm not gonna be too picky about what the fuck is that? How? Why? Did they actually fuck? What? Anne got a statue, hooray. But I can't stop thinking, why would that be a thing? But we get to wrap up the humans. Marcy has a webcomic and living her best life. Sasha is a psychiatrist and hopefully helping kids. And Anne has a whole speech about the importance of letting go as she holds on to a frog named Sprig. That might be the most CinemaSin thing I've ever said. Good thing the show actually fucking rocks, so it doesn't matter. Alright guys, that's the end of that. Amphibia was a treat. And my personal thoughts will be located in a podcast I'll be doing later next week on my second channel, so keep your eye out for that. Thank you for watching. Love you all, peace out, goodbye, and please just wish all the Amphibia crew just nothing but the best.